Good afternoon. Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of the Naval Staff. Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of the Naval Staff. Vice Admiral Pradeep Chauhan, Director General, National Maritime Foundation, Mrs. Purobi Mukherjee, and members of the family of the late Admiral A.K. Chatterji. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Divya Rai, and I am the new program executive at the National Maritime Foundation. I'm privileged to be your hostess for this afternoon, and I'm delighted to be the first to formally welcome you. I echo the sentiments of Director General and all echelons of the National Maritime Foundation, just saying how thrilled all of us are to see quite so many of you have taken the time and trouble to be here with us on this important occasion. Today marks the culmination of the 18 months of painstaking research by Captain Kamlesh Kumar Agnihotri, Senior Fellow at the National Maritime Foundation, and the fourth Research Fellow to be honored by Admiral A.K. Chatterjee Fellowship. This research project, like the other three that have preceded it, been converted into a very readable and hugely informative book. And on this occasion of its formal release, we are deeply honored to have in our midst Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of the Naval Staff, Mrs. Purobi Mukherjee, the daughter of the late Admiral A.K. Chatterjee, member of the family, close friends of the late Admiral Chatterjee, who continues to favor the foundation with his generosity. Distinguished members of the Governing Council of the National Maritime Foundation, heads of the India's leading think tanks, many esteemed members of the strategic community, and so many ladies and gentlemen of uncommon eminence and great accomplishments. We appreciate you taking time off from your busy schedules to join us today. In fact, being mindful of the great value of your time, let me, without any further ado, request Vice Admiral Pradeep Chauhan, Director General of the National Maritime Foundation, to please afford his personal welcome to one and all. Thank you.
Family of the late Admiral Chatterjee, Admiral. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Now, I know that Divya has already sort of welcomed you all reasonably with reasonable effervescence. And yet, such is the inordinate amount of delight that your presence here brings to all of us. Whether your presence is physical, as indeed I can see before me, or virtual, in which you can see some of the faces in the gallery. In either case, I think that you bring to us such joy that no matter how many times we reiterate our welcome to you, it will be never too much. So even amidst quite so glittering a galaxy of stars, no matter how many galaxies you actually do see, there will always be some special supernovae. and supernovas. So I think that I would like to make particular mention not only of our governing council, but in particular the fact that all of them, or as many of them as they could have come here today, and Ambassador Agnihotri, who is our leading light, our beacon, our member emeritus. So if you wouldn't mind just standing up once and letting the people see who you are, that would be really nice. So please, the younger people need all the inspiration that they can get. So if you... Right, ladies and gentlemen, please put it together for Ambassador Agnihotri. He has had so many distinguished appointments, Foreign Secretary, mover and shaker of many wonderful books. Today he was informing me earlier in the afternoon of a quite similar book that he had organized almost a dozen years ago on a similar subject. And I would also like to afford a special note of welcome, echoing your own feelings, I am sure, to our Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Karambir Singh, who has literally carved out time from an incredibly busy schedule just to be here today. And of course, once again, echoing your own feelings, let me say thank you, a heartfelt swagatam to Mrs. Purobi Mukherjee and her sister. I'm not sure whether I get my Bengali right if I say Swagatam, but I'm sure I got it wrong. But nevertheless, the sincerity of the feeling is of welcome is echoed by all of us. And I also wanted to make special mention of Admiral and Mrs. Vora and Admiral and Mrs. Koshev, who have been leading lights of the National Maritime Foundation. And I know that many of you, like me, are basking in the radiance of all of them, including the three previous fellows of the Admiral A.K. Chatterji Fellowship. So I'm delighted to inform you that we have two of them here with us. And if you wouldn't mind standing up in the order that I call your name, there's Arun Golaya, who's a Commodore of the Indian Navy, and Mrs. Golaya. I have to tell you that for many years, Arun used to talk incessantly about his wife, and his book, which is called The Game Changer, please, thank you, was actually full of little hearts and arrows through them, and it was quite embarrassing. And for a while, I thought that Mrs. Golaya was really a figment of his, not his imagination, but his desire. And I'm delighted to see that that wasn't actually the case. And then we have Captain Nitin Agarwal, if he would stand up, he's right behind you. And he was the third recipient of the fellowship and wrote another remarkable book as well on India's deep sea bed mining and so on and so forth. So we are welcoming each other. I'm welcoming you for many reasons. One is because many of you have been mentors of mine. Many of you have been guides, philosophers, well, some parts of philosophy. And many of you have taken good charge of me as a youngster and then as a not so youngster. So there are many that I need to pay particular words of gratitude and welcome. So I welcome each one of you this afternoon to what I hope will be an enriching start to a really enjoyable set of reading. So if Oliver, you would come up here and help me share this. I've got a very short presentation that I would like to make for you to just touch upon the to touch upon the overview of the National Maritime Foundation. This is going to go in quick, rapid staccato, but many of you are coming to the NMF after a long time and in some cases for the first time. So with your indulgence, the National Maritime Foundation is a non-governmental, apolitical, gender and age agnostic, autonomous maritime think tank that was inaugurated by the then Defense Minister, the late Dr. Pranab Mukherjee, who went on, of course, to become the Honorable President of India. And he inaugurated this on the 15th of February, 2005. So we're about 16 years old. and have all the idiosyncrasies of a young teenager. Our vision statement is to be simply the foremost resource center for the development and advocacies of strategies for the promotion and protection of India's maritime interests. And since our primary purpose is to generate ideas and debate upon maritime policy, our principal target audience are not only policy makers in the government, but also policy shapers, whether they are in academia or think tanks or pressure groups or in the public at large. We have a staffing structure in which the NMF is divided up into two broad verticals. One is research and one is research support. And I want to be able to emphasize to this learned audience that in keeping with the principles that were laid down by my predecessors, all of whom are more illustrious than me, research support is Adam, which means that it is not the guy who brings you the staples and figures out कि पानी glass में डाला हुआ है या नहीं. They do everything that is not pure research. So without research support, you won't have any research. Funding. We are funded through occasional grants and aid from the Government of India, the Ministry of Defense. We have an annual grant from the non-governmental funds of the Indian Navy. And then we have fellowships, as indeed is the one that we are celebrating today. Offered by both private citizens and institutions. We have a little bit of earning from our approach papers, reports, studies, sale of our books. Many of you are going to, you don't really know that just now, but you will be contributing to that particular bullet as we ask you to sign on for these books. These books are, I mean, we're delighted to see you, we welcome you, but, we need the money. So we will be offering them. On the other hand, we will be offering our books to you, this particular book to you at a fairly good discounted price. Its retail price should be around 1,400 rupees, and we are going to offer them at 1,000 rupees, which is quite cheap nowadays, equal to one decent meal anywhere. Our areas of research interest are 5 in number, and they're on your screen. We do holistic maritime security, both thematic and country-specific. We do maritime, marine, and naval technology studies. We are engaged in the blue economy, climate change, maritime resources, and the national and regional impacts of them. I'm very proud to tell you that using, as I was mentioning earlier to Mrs. Mukherjee, using the trailblazing efforts of this particular fellowship, we have gone to other people and said, hi, aren't you going to put in a fellowship? And so we do have more than one, and we have just won a competitive fellowship called the Climate Driven Disaster Resilience Fellowship, or the CDRI, and that fellowship had more than about 600 odd applicants, and 22 of them were awarded this fellowship, and I'm very proud to say that the National Maritime Foundation was one of them. And in case you're going to clap your hands now, you need to do it for the right person. So that's Dr. Pushp Bajaj, who will walk up and down in the center aisle. Pushp, if you would walk up towards me and not make the camera collapse. This is the time you give him a big hand. He's the winner of that. Come right up. Nobody can see you. Thank you very much. Then we engage with maritime affairs, including public international maritime law, maritime trade, connectivity, safety, and of course, maritime history, heritage, and maritime culture. We do all these kinds of security studies, all of them. Coastal, offshore, naval security, hard security, trade security, energy, ports, polar, cyber, nuclear, surface, underwater, space-based MDA. We also do geostrategies of other countries, as you can see on the tabulation, including the last 3 rows, which will show you some of the entities that we deal with. I am once again proud to inform you that under the able leadership of our patron, Admiral KB Singh, and our chairman and our present chairman, Admiral Lamba, we are engaged in intensive activity with the European Union, with the United States of America. We have 5 points of contact, even with the People's Republic of China. That gives us 5 points of aim for our weaponry. And we have maritime marine technology. It's another area. For too long, we've had institutions that are only worrying about geopolitics and the grand adda. And we can't afford this anymore. We need to be technologically aware. And so all of these studies are now in front of you on your screen. And you can see that. So are we doing all this? No. Do we want to do all this? Yes. And so we're trying to find innovative and modern means of doing so. And I must once again place on record my great gratitude to the Chief of the Naval Staff, who has been unstinting in his support to the NMF. Blue economy, I've already spoken about, but it deals with the whole gamut of activities related to the region, to the country, and to the national and regional impacts of our oceanic resources, both living and non-living. We do a lot of studies on energy. And we think that the country has a long way to go before it understands the potential and realizes the potential of energy at sea. Another big area of thrust that I want to emphasize is law. China is running hoops around the Indian because so weak as to be positively infirm. And we are in a very awkward situation there, and we have a lot of work to do. And so there are major thrust areas as shown on your screen in public international law from one end of the spectrum to the other. I'm not going to read any of this out, but I would strongly urge you to have a look at the NMF website. Another area which Admiral Vora actually championed in his time was this whole business of maritime heritage. How will we become a maritime country? How is that going to happen if we're not addressing the schools, if we're not addressing the colleges, if we're not teaching capsules? How is it going to happen? So I think that he has left some very large shoes which we are struggling to fill, but I did want to say thank you for finding them. And of course, trade, maritime connectivity, ports, shipping, the whole works, of which there are several subjects which we deal with. Whether they deal with safety. Now, what do? We have 25, I've only shown 24, but 25 international partnerships. And if there are only 12 months in the year, that means twice in a month we're going to do this. So I just wanted to give you as brief an overview of what the NMF does as is possible. And without any further ado, I want to say thank you for your attention and hand over the proceedings back to Divya Rai, who is our program executive. So Divya, the floor is all yours, and I will ask Oliver to stop sharing. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir,
you
for the warmth and sincerity. Thank you, sir, for the warmth and sincerity of your welcome. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I share your sense of keen anticipation as I request Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of the Naval Staff, to deliver his keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me? Yeah. So Mrs. Purabi Mukherjee, Vice Admiral Pradeep Chauhan, Director General, National Maritime Foundation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen from the NMF family, attending this event both physically and online. Good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure to be here today to release this book titled Leveraging High Technology Developments in the Chinese Military and Maritime Domains, authored by Captain Agnihotri, under the aegis of the Admiral A.K. Chatterji Fellowship. At the outset, I think it's only fitting that I speak a few words about Admiral Chatterji, India's fifth Chief of Naval Staff, who served from 1966 to 1970. Incidentally, he was India's second longest serving chief. Late Admiral Chatterji was a true scholar warrior, instrumental in formulating the blueprint of the Indian Navy. And Admiral had many firsts to his credit, and amongst which a few prominent ones are, he was the first Indian to command the cruiser INS Delhi, the first naval officer to be the commandant of National Defense, the prestigious National Defense College, and most importantly, the first Indian officer to be promoted to the rank of full admiral. And as the lead author of the Naval Plans paper in 1948, he is credited with being one of the principal architects of the Indian Navy that we are so proudly part of. The nautical themes of 4 of his books that he authored highlighted his love for the seas as well as an intellectual bent of mind. And post-retirement, he strongly advocated scholarly development amongst naval officers. So I think the Admiral A.K. Chatterji Fellowship is a befitting tribute to the Admiral's passion for matters maritime and his drive to encourage intellectual rigor in the Indian Navy. And the Indian Navy is indeed grateful to the family of the late Admiral for this noble gesture, which promotes the Admiral's vision of nurturing an intellectually vibrant maritime India through meaningful research on matters of contemporary relevance, especially related to naval warfare. When we talk of warfare, we all know that warfare is characterized by its violent nature and constantly evolving character. And in contemporary times, this evolution in the character of warfare has been witness to a scorching pace of technological change. The onset, we are at the inflection point between the industrial age and the information age. And the onset of the 4th industrial revolution and dawn of the information age is driving the ongoing revolution in military affairs and radically transforming warfare at a pace unseen in the past. And this again underscores the importance of keeping a weather eye on technological developments, their militarization, and impact on warfare. And this is especially relevant to the Navy because we are a technologically intensive force, and better technology, as you know, provides a significant edge to us in combat. So therefore, the book authored by Captain Agnihotri, which addresses the impact of technology on naval warfare, is a great endeavor, and I wholeheartedly congratulate the author for choosing this contemporary theme and carrying out in-depth research into all related aspects. As is evident from the title, the book broadly covers China's technological developments and impact of this on the security in the Indian Ocean region. We've been watching China very closely, and it has been relentless in its pursuit of technological development and has emerged as a leader in several fields. You must have heard of the Made in China MIC 2025 establishment of the, where they want to graduate from being, making large scale, technological items to high tech equipment. Then the establishment of the Science and Technology Commission, the military civil fusion strategy, next generation artificial intelligence development plans, advances in space, cyber, quantum technology, HGVs, unmanned. These are all indicative of a centralized effort that they're putting in development and incorporation of technology into the country and to their PLA or CCP forces. And this is one advantage they have because they use sharp power. That means they're all elements of national power. They focus onto achievement of certain goals. And this is one of their main goals, that is technological ascendancy over the rest of the world. So I'm told the book provides a detailed evaluation of key Chinese programs, also covers developments across the spectrum of issues impacted by technology like platforms, weapons, support equipment, and associated enablers. And I believe there's an unbiased comparison of technological developments in China and India, implications for India, probable scenarios impacting maritime security in the IOR, and recommendations to mitigate perceived shortcomings. I'm sure this make this book an interesting read, not just for technophiles, but also for strategists and policymakers. We as India and the Indian Navy are also working hard under the overarching government of India's policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat towards and charting a path towards development and incorporation of niche technologies indigenously. And while this initiative will face headwinds, but our efforts are already yielding promising results. And again, I'll ask Commodore Golaya to stand up. I think he is one of our linchpins in this particular endeavor. We have started something called the Naval Indigenization and Innovation Organization, the student program, Indian Naval Student Program, which involves academia into niche technologies, and of course the Technology Development Acceleration Cell, of which Commodore Golaya is leading, and with his leadership, the things are moving pretty well. And there are promising results that we've achieved. But I think in addition to all this, initiatives like this book that Captain Agnihotri has written will help us identify additional best practices, kindle ideas, and catalyze discussions on the subject. I think the book will also form a good start point for researchers interested in understanding or undertaking in-depth study on any of the various topics touched upon. So to conclude, I'd like to highlight that the previous 3 books that Admiral Bindu Chauhan just talked about, published under the fellowship, have been well researched, well received, and appreciated for their granular research and clear articulation of ideas. And I'm sure this book, again, will also match its predecessors in intellectual depth and acceptance across the strategic community. Last but not the least, on behalf of the Navy, I express our sincere gratitude to Mrs. Purabhi Mukherjee, who's come all the way from Mayur Vihar, to her for supporting this endeavor through the Admiral A.K. Chatterji Fellowship. I would like to assure you, ma'am, that we would continue to encourage scholarly outcomes in the future in honor of the legacy of the late Admiral A.K. Chatterji. Thank you very much for your time. Jai Hind, Shona Varna.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and guidance. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we now arrive at a seminal point of this afternoon's proceedings, the release of the book titled Leveraging High Technology Developments in the Chinese Military and Maritime Domain, which has been authored by Captain Kamlesh Kumar Agnihotri and is the manifestation of 4th research project undertaken under the Admiral A.K. Chatterji Fellowship. Thank you, sir. And now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, even as we ask you to book your orders for this excellent and timely example of the research undertaken at this foundation, I will request Captain Agnihotri to hone your intellectual appetite by delivering a brief presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My sincere gratitude to the Chief of the Naval Staff, who very graciously released my book and said such good words about me and my research. I also thank him for setting an apt stage for me to talk about my book by introducing the theme and highlighting its relevance in the current geopolitical context. Of course, in the Indian Ocean region, and if I may say, the broader Indo-Pacific region. And I consider myself to be really fortunate to be a part of this Admiral A.K. Chatterji Fellowship project. This took me through 1.5 years of intense research and investigative rigor, which I dare say I enjoyed every bit of. The project is premised on the ongoing reality of the Chinese defense forces modernizing at a demonstrably rapid pace. In this context, it is posited that the PLA's operational effectiveness would increase manifold if it was able to leverage certain high technologies in the national, military, and maritime domain by adopting them for military and combat use. Major advanced technologies covered in the book are shown on this slide. Since there is not enough time available for their detailed explanation, I will quickly run through these technologies in a pictographical sequence. Seeing is believing, so I'll run it in pictographical sequence. While the advances in artificial intelligence have affected the development of virtually all high technology applications, the quantum communication technology is being extensively experimented with using space-based assets like the Chinese mission satellite. Various experiments that are being conducted to realize quantum communication are the quantum entanglement, quantum key distribution, and quantum teleportation. The ultimate aim, of course, is to achieve a global real-time, ultra-secure, and hack-proof wide-area internet using quantum communications by 2030. Just as an aside, in a technology demonstration, 2 quantum communication experts carried out a secure video conference between Beijing in China and Graz in Austria using cipher code keys transmitted through the mission satellite. Coming quickly to the hypersonic glide vehicles, China is making rapid progress in this technology, though its hypersonic program per se is in a developmental stage. The vehicle is said to be adjustable to anti-ship role also with a conventional warhead. And China finally showcased a number of DF-17 missiles featuring hypersonic glide vehicles on its nose cone in its October 2019 parade. And the Chinese media has since then started talking about using this weapon to threaten India, in addition to the US and Japan. The ASBMs are becoming a key component of China's concept of operations, as it seeks the ability to target adversaries' warships through multi-axis strikes as part of its A2AD concept. DF-21D ASBM is one such missile, which is variously referred to in the Chinese media as Assassin's Mace also. China also unveiled the DF-26 road mobile missile in 2015, along with an ASBM variant. China now appears to use these ASBMs for strategic signaling, particularly against the US Navy in the Indo-Pacific, or I would say Western Pacific. I would not venture as of now into the Indo-Pacific for China. And to signal its intent and resolve, China had fired 2 ASBMs for the first time in the South China Sea as part of an exercise and not at a specific target between Hainan and Paracel Islands in August of last year. A quick look now at some of the unmanned systems, starting with the UAVs. The Xianglong UAV, the Divine Eagle, and the Feiyun solar-powered UAV are just 3 of the most modern UAVs that China has. China has in excess of 300 odd UAV models, some in civilian domain and some in the I would say PLA domain. And these are the 2 of the most modern UCAVs, Saihong 5 and Winglong 2. Incidentally, Winglong 1 has been exported to Pakistan. They are already in possession of it. As for the USVs, Seafly USV and Huster USV. Seafly is a USV which has carbon composite molded hull in double M shape. Huster is for small time contact investigation to make the crew risk-free, I would say. C-1500 and C-3000 are the modular kind of USVs, where the modular payloads of weapons, sensors, and other systems can be placed for, depending on the role and charter required, I would say. And these are for MAT series are for hydrographic survey and surveillance ops. And I have put only very few of them because these are the most recent ones. Manned, unmanned submersibles. Following types. I will cover few of them only as of now. China started its first deep sea manned submersible Qiaolong just in 2010. Manned by a crew of 3, Qiaolong achieved a record diving depth of more than 7,000 meters. Its last deployment in the IOR was in 2017, where it carried out extensive deployment from Indian Ocean right up to the Central Pacific. China's new manned submersible, Shanghai Yongshi, commissioned in 2018, can reach a depth of 4,500 meters. And this has also been getting extensively deployed in the IOR, as can be seen from the slide. With their designed diving depth of up to more than 7,000 meters, these manned submersibles are capable of reaching 95% of undersea areas of the world. And the balance 5% will be taken care of this giant, who can dive till 11,000 meters, Fan Tao Che. And it is already operational since March this year, having dived up to an exact depth of 10,909 meters in the Mariana Trench area. Unmanned submersibles, mainly of two types. One is the Qianlong series of submersibles and the Hai series of underwater gliders. 8 months at a time, the mothership comes here, and with these two, Qianlong 1, Qianlong 2 embarked and carries out deep sea research in the Indian Ocean region. As of now, ostensibly for civilian tasks, but we know the military implications of somebody carrying out underwater research. The Hai underwater glider looks like a torpedo with a pair of wings. It can glide close to 1 year without any human intervention, all the time collecting data and transmitting it back to the control center. It comes up, goes down, again comes up, and keeps repeating this cycle. Very well publicized mission, Hai mission in the Indian Ocean region was last year, or I would say, yeah, last year, wherein 12 sea gliders were deployed in one go in the Indian Ocean region. This is a very famous picture. First ever unmanned submarine was unveiled in October 2019. This extra large UUV will surely become a strategically smart piece of equipment for China during futuristic warfare. Electromagnetic railgun. China appears to have fitted one on one of its LSTs, and the system has been undergoing trials for last 3 years plus. When it becomes operational, yes, the technology is challenging, but when it becomes operational, the electromagnetic railgun would be a game changer for the PLA naval ships, air defense and anti-missile defense, and also enable long-distance shore bombardments. The PLA Navy fighters have been conducting extensive takeoff and trials using steam and electromagnetic catapult tracks erected at an airfield on the Bohai Bay coastline. The picture down below is just a blow-up of the circled area. One of the tracks is the catapult track, steam catapult track, other is the EMOLS track. Now, Chinese media sources do claim that this EMOLS would be installed on the carrier number 3, though there is no official confirmation to that effect. But since they are carrying out trials, we would like to put it there. So why is China focusing so much on the advanced technologies, and what drives them? Quickly, I would just put 3 quotes here. Xi Jinping, president, links the innovative development of science and technology to his vision of a powerful and transformed China. And the latest defense white paper makes no secret of the role that advanced technologies play and will continue to play in its military domain. While the first quote may be attributed to all political leaders the world over, generally engaging in hyperbole and rhetoric aimed at their audience, either domestic or international. But the line that I have projected now, third one, is an extract of their 5-year action plan, which highlights holistic development of all aspects related to the seas, be it economy, resources, ecosystems, habitats, so as to, please note the words, so as to enable China to become a great maritime power, and as a corollary, safeguard its maritime rights and interests. As for the Navy, President Xi Jinping's words regarding leveraging of science, technology, and innovation as the means for making it a strong instrument of national rejuvenation could not have been more clear and resolute. Having seen the why in just one slide of high technological developments, let's take a cursory look at what component. The Chief of the Naval Staff graciously referred to the comparisons that I've carried out. This is one of the tables. For that, let us look at the level of Chinese accomplishments in these technologies on a very simple incremental scale, where 0 denotes the lowest level of indigenization and technology development, and 10 is, of course, the gold standard. These are not laid down anywhere. I had prepared it for the book itself. And this is where China stands as per my assessments. Of course, so many variable factors and weightages can be assigned to each technology, and this simple scale can be refined. But this does enable back of the envelope kind of comparison with other countries' achievements. One would, of course, tend to ask, so what? Many countries, including India, are pursuing most of these technologies and are also succeeding at it. My short answer would be that while I am certainly aware of much work that Indian scientific community is doing in most, if not all these technologies, and I have devoted a full chapter to this aspect, I will leave it to our distinguished maritime strategists, security analysts, and technologists to make a comparison of their own vis-a-vis Chinese achievements. As the Chief of Naval Staff said, I have, of course, done it in my book, which will you will find it over there as and when you carefully analyze it. Coming to the final slide, I will conclude by providing an insight of how the Chinese maritime bandwagon would, and in fact is, progressing towards a permanent presence in the IOR. I have done a little bit of basic Chinese, and so I could see a lot of potential in these sayings. I would call it the Eureka moment of my research effort. The Chinese, who are traditionally given to articulating their thought process in small couplets, each line of which has generally 4 characters, like Deng Xiaoping's 24-character strategy that we have heard about. They have come up with a 16-character policy recommendation for advancing into the IOR. As shown on the slide. I have the ones in red, I have paraphrased of my own effort to try and make the, I would say, make the saying a little more clear. And the commencement of the Gulf of Aden escort task by the PLA Navy in end 2008, which continues unabated for more than 12 years now, is an apt case study for this 16-character strategy. Just for one example, I will not read out all because then that will be a little more long. China made a careful choice of ingress site by pitching in when the international community was looking at combined global effort to counter piracy in the Gulf of Aden. And then, even though the whole world, including all of us, took notice of this emerging pattern with some foreboding as to why are they doing it and what is the intention, the third quadrant of cooperative smoothing of nerves by articulation of comforting jargons. Chinese are very good at comforting jargons and pushing them out, like global good, win-win outcomes, etc., was used to secure operating space and consolidation time. Given this context and the Chinese modus operandi I just explained, the impact of permanent presence of the PLA Navy's high technology enabled platforms in IOR with a mandate of high sea protection, these are very loaded words, high sea protection, will be quite overwhelming. The consequent corollary to this axiomatic certainty will be the obvious security implications for India as a regional power and its navy. Therefore, the need of the hour for the Indian scientific and national security community is to analyze these and other high technologies not mentioned here and accelerate the holistic process for integrating the most important of them into our national force multiplication matrix. Some such recommendations for that have certainly been offered by me in my book, which has just been released. And I would exhort the ladies and gentlemen present here physically as well as online to explore them by going through it rather than me divulging them at this stage. I'll finish with that. And here are the acknowledgements. The last 3 distinguished people were my discussants for progressing my various stages of this research project, and they helped me shape the current contours of the book that you see in front of me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, sad that it makes me to say this, all good things must eventually come to an end. So as we began, so we will end by a few closing remarks by the Director General, Vice Admiral Pradeep Chauhan.
This afternoon's event. I want to leave you with a number of questions that arise out of this book, its release, and the timing of its release, and the fact that the Chief of the Naval Staff himself has released the book, taken, as I said. The first is this: what is science? Is science equal to STEM? Is science the same as science, technology, engineering, mathematics? Is that all that science is? We today in India suffer from some very serious lacunae in not being informed by the social sciences. We don't have any structure by which the social sciences can actually inform us. And so we keep going to other people who are even more steeped in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And there is a very large danger here. That danger is the danger of symmetry. Where you look at China and you say it's got A, B, C, D, I must also have A, B, C, D. Mine must be in capitals if it is only in lowercase. This is the standard approach, and it is adopted because we follow pretty much faithfully material that is pushed out in the United States of America and places like that. So then, what about asymmetries? Should we not look for asymmetries? Because meeting symmetries on technology to technology will be ruinous in addition to being extraordinarily long in the making. Let me give you one last one. I know that I'm very short of time, couple of minutes only. So let me give you a question. In all our colleges of higher studies, why don't we study what happened? We study Israel. Of course, we all studied Israel. Anybody studied Israel between the year 1948 and the year 1972 when Israel was the weaker partner? Israel did not have technology. The Soviet Union had provided all 7 of Israel's neighbors with high-end technology, but Israel won. How did they do it? Why isn't that part of our study? Why is our study only limited to post-1972 Israel or post-1965 Israel, when Israel began to become a technological power in itself? How do we know that there are no lessons? Because we're not studying them at all. So consequently, there are areas of asymmetry that must be mined. It must be found. It can't be found by simply studying American literature. It has to be found by studying Indian literature, Indian studies, ab initio studies. Ab initio is no joke. 2 other points. One is this business of should we be investing in what makes the Chinese character tick? What about face? Is face important? Can we utilize face to make China behave in manners that we want them to behave in? Is face the same as honor? Is face the same as respect? What is face? Where are the Indian studies in academic institution after academic institution? I cease to be invited to any of them for the second time because I asked this question. Where are your social anthropologists? Where are their studies on China's face? Is this face business only Admiral Chauhan's favored imagination at work? So I'm delighted to be able to inform you that the Indian Navy is fully supportive of this. Great. Then what do? We need to commission some studies so that, General Katoch is here and he's been long been a student of China. If we are not going to study asymmetries, then I'm afraid that we are going to suffer. Last point, the Chinese don't play chess. We all know this. They play Weishi or the game of Go. Where are the Indians who play Weishi? We play Mahjong. Some of the ladies play Mahjong. The gentlemen, what are they doing? Yes, I'm afraid that's the other 4-letter word that we have substituted for WORK, just in case you think I'm going somewhere else. So I think that there are things to be thought of. These are the things that this book brings out. It forces you to take a position. Should you follow this, or are there other pathways? And therefore, these fellowships do not require us simply to catalog what other people are doing and scare the bejesus out of ourselves. They need to catalog. We need to catalog, but we need to have other solutions than the ones which are being presented for us on a platter to take. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot end this event without recording your gracious presence amidst us this afternoon. So may I now request you to step outside and join us for a group photograph, and to thereafter proceed to the ante-room of the Varuna Naval Officers' Mess for a cup of tea. Thank you, everyone.
This business of just step outside, it has some connotations.